Beyond truth and lies are the stories without answers. Welcome to Dragon's Bread. For many, it may be hard to imagine that there's peace behind life. Love? Relief? No, it may be too far-fetched to dream from the reality of pain we see every day in our world. But what if you didn't have to imagine? You knew that for a brief moment, you were shown a love so complete that pain became the impossible dream to understand. How could love move you then? This is August Goforth's story, and this is the episode we've titled Writing Through.
The defining moment or experience that I've shared with others is my near-death experience as a child when I drowned. Between 3 and 4 years old, being with my mother and her friends and their kids at a lake, a local lake. It's one of those kind of sandy brown lakes with a dock on it, and watching the older children run down to the end of the dock and with great fun jump off into the water and often sort of stay under the water for a long time. I was just fascinated with how they kept disappearing and then coming up and doing it over and over again. So somehow I managed to wander away and go off this way down the end of this dock and jump off into the water. Because I was so little, I didn't really sink to the bottom. I kind of just was suspended somewhere. It was probably 10 feet deep, I suppose now. Entranced is the best word by the feeling of the water supporting me in complete safety, and the way sound became dampened. I was hearing things I'd never heard before, and the light coming down through the water and shining all around me. It was so peaceful and so beautiful. And because I didn't understand what I was supposed to do, I assumed that you're supposed to keep breathing. So I inhaled water and I sank right down to the bottom very slowly. It wasn't painful or anything, and I started hearing the most incredible music coming at me, and then I could hear people laughing and singing, and then I could see very dim shapes off in the distance through the sunlight coming through this murky water, coming towards me. They were talking to me and they're saying, "It's okay, we're coming to get you, don't worry." And I thought, there's nothing for me to be afraid of. What struck me was the expression on their faces was an expression I've never seen on another human being above water before then or ever since then. And that was of complete ease and strength and self-confidence and self-authority, bliss, joy, love, just beaming towards me. And I had never been embraced by people in that way before. So I was very happy to go with them, and I could feel them circling around me in some sort of a collective way. And then suddenly someone had grabbed me by the hair and pulled me out of the water. Apparently I was unconscious enough to alarm people, and they called doctors and stuff. All I can remember is that I was incredibly angry. I went into a rage, and I immediately broke away and ran down off the dock because I was going to jump into there again, and someone caught me. And then they were sort of worried about, is this child traumatized? Is he mentally ill? What's going on like that? And that night in my bed, I couldn't sleep, just kept replaying it over and over in my mind. And I was calling to these people, like, come back and get me. I was in that state for quite a while where I didn't want to eat and I didn't want to sleep. I hadn't realized that life could be experienced in that way until that moment. And that's how I wanted life to be. some way I was able to still continue to tune in to those things that people might call invisible or inaudible. I sensed them. I grew up in a very isolated part of the United States, the northern Appalachian Mountains. It's mostly state game land, so there's nothing built upon it. There's only, less than 2,000 people there, and I'm related to most of them. There's about 10 generations of my family in the cemetery there. That isolation preserved a lot of what we might call the old ways, the way that people interacted with nature and weather and spirit. Both of my grandmothers were mediums, and people in the communities knew this. One grandfather was the village dowser. People knew he had this ability to find water for their farms or their houses. It was recognized that certain of us, meaning my cousins and myself and some siblings, had abilities, and it wasn't really talked about all that much or discussed or analyzed. It was just part of the living. And it was accommodated because I actually could see other people coming into the space. They would understand that I would insist, like John was there with us that night, and I would say, would you set an extra place at the table for him? And they would do that. The only problems that came out of that was, people understood that coming into the home, that this little kid may see and act as if there's other people around that you can't.
So there's a certain purity to you, like culture hasn't infiltrated you yet, where you're getting a sense of what a difference is. So where does that come in?
Well, when I realized that I was gay. I'm about 14 years old. I'm still there in the mountains, and I'm considered a musical prodigy. And it's not something that I wanted to do as a career. People just sort of got carried away with it. And as I was shuffled off to various conservatories and Juilliard and places like that, I ran into other kids just like me who also were very unhappy and very depressed because we were forced into something that took the joy out of it and our freedom was taken away from us. And so my escape was books. There was a bookstore where I found a very small paperback. It was about pre-gay liberation, and it was about a group of men who decided to form the first gay collective in New York City, and they wrote a book about it. And this was, in the 60s. So I took this home with me, and I had no idea what gay was or homosexuality was or sexuality for that reason. The dawning of understanding, like the light just filled the room. Suddenly everything makes sense. My emotions make sense. And it was like a glorious moment of discovery for me, until I shared it with one of my brothers, who completely freaked out and embarked upon years of trying to get my parents to institutionalize me because he thought homosexuality was so bad. Suddenly I was come up against, like, I'm not as loved as I thought I was. I'm not as understood as I was. I'm not accepted as I was. And I had to go stealth. So here I am now off in college, leading a double life and having to learn how to use my spiritual skills to survive, to make myself invisible. It was very overwhelming of being gay. It was not something that you're going to bring out. We're hunted, we're haunted, we're considered second-class citizens. The closet, it became a safe place, but a very dark place as well. Exposed to all these different people and cultures and languages, different colors of skin that I had never seen before. I hadn't seen anyone with brown eyes until I was probably 6 years old. It's different people and cultures and languages, different colors of skin, brown eyes, skin. To my surprise, when it was just right out in front of everyone, my gayness in college, everyone was so caught up in their own identity formation that they didn't really care about me one way or the other. But because it gave me such a sense of strength and joy, a friend and I who had found each other who was gay, also, we went to the dean and we started the first gay hotline in a college in the Northeast. But still, the mediumship, there were people there who understood that. People at college discovered my sensitivity to alcohol, discovered like at parties and stuff that if I had enough to drink, I would go into a trance, which for me was a blackout, which was not good. But they could then use me to get information. I didn't know this. People had been purposefully bringing bottles of alcohol specifically to plying me with it so they could get me into this state. I developed a tolerance for it. And the question for me is like, how did I become an alcoholic? Because I did. It wasn't until like maybe 2 decades of that went on that I had a white light experience, they call that in the 12-step rooms. One morning, I woke up with one of the worst hangovers that I've ever had in my life. But suddenly I had that moment of clarity, like, this is never gonna stop unless I do something different. And I looked up and it was as if I could see a glass wall between me and the world. I could see out the windows of my apartment and I could hear children playing and birds singing and stuff. And I heard this voice speak to me that I hadn't heard in years. I used to hear this voice all the time as a child. And so the voice said, this is as far as you can go. You can't go beyond this plate of glass. You're gonna have to stop drinking in order to be able for me to remove this plate of glass, for you to move beyond it. Would you like that? I said yes. The room filled with light, so bright I couldn't open my eyes. This wind came into the room and blew everything around. There were papers all over the place, pictures knocked off the wall. When it died down and I opened my eyes, the obsession, it was like a vacuum cleaner had been stuck in my mouth and sucked everything out, and I was clean and clear again. And I panicked. I said, wait a minute, I changed my mind. I'm not ready for this. And this voice laughed. So this was also at the very tail end of the AIDS crises, where I had lost almost my entire social circle, which is over 100 people within 2 or 3 short years. And the person I thought would be my life companion died from AIDS. It was 2 years later that he manifested physically in my space.
Like in your room? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. And it surprised himself. He didn't think that it would happen physically either.
And he's like, let's write a book?
Yeah.
Hearts should be together while worlds do us apart. But the way I feel won't get me through the night.
It caught the attention of people on the other side, we could call them. They were fascinated by this love that we had for each other, that it allowed us to reunite and continue on sort of interacting between the two worlds. So they wanted to take advantage of, as an experiment, eventually they said, let's try transmitting some information and seeing if you can articulate it into the written word, into a book. Where that is leading, I don't know, but there's this sense that this has all been orchestrated from the very moment I was sparked into life.
So I'm a vet that's been trying to do the conscious business thing for a while now, so I've been keeping my ears and eyes open, looking out for outlaw do-gooder types. And by that, I just mean people that are willing to cut through the bullshit to do a good thing. Combat flip-flops was on my radar early. These dudes walk into active and recovering war zones, and they make flip-flops, jewelry, and apparel from exploded ordnance. They're former Army Rangers that are willing to go to bat for peace. For every product they sell, they put an Afghan girl to school. That's cool. They make these bangles from exploded landmines, which helps clear 3 feet of space. And that's a huge problem in abandoned war zones, is these places are littered with buried ordnance. And that's dangerous for kids and families. So, to join their unarmed forces and help support vets promoting peace through great products, visit combatflipflops.com. Use the code DRAGONSBREAD and get 25% off. Combat Flip-Flops. Bad for running, worse for fighting. For previews of upcoming episodes, animated videos, and to download soundtracks, visit tuimedia.com. Big shout out to Burger Records. Go to our music page and you can learn more about the artists featured in this episode there. Stay true, people.